The breaking point, the summit begins Station Harmony, floated in the void between three star systems. A massive structure of silver and glass that had been built for one purpose: peace. Its corridors stretched for miles. Its conference halls could hold thousands, and its shields could withstand a direct hit from any known weapon. It was meant to be neutral ground, a place where even the bitterest enemies could meet without fear. Commander Sarah Chon stood at the observation deck, watching three massive fleets hold position around the station. Each fleet represented one of the great powers of this sector, and each one had enough firepower to level the planet. The Vorten Empire's ships were dark and angular, like shards of obsidian floating in space. The Kellian Collective's vessels glowed with bioluminescent patterns, living ships grown rather than built. The Zephyr Alliance fleet shimmered with energy fields, their technology so advanced it seemed almost magical. Sarah had been in dangerous situations before. She had served in Earth's military for 15 years, rising through the ranks during humanity's first contact wars. But this was different. This time she was not here to fight. She was here to prevent a war that could consume billions of lives. Delegations arrived. The Grand Conference Hall was a masterpiece of diplomatic architecture. The ceiling arched high above, displaying a holographic map of the disputed Meridian sector. 3 platforms surrounded a central negotiation circle, each positioned at equal distance and height. No faction could claim superiority in this space. Sarah walked beside Ambassador Marcus Webb, humanity's chief diplomat for the region. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes that hid a sharp political mind. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 30 years, but they had earned respect through honesty and capability. "Remember," Marcus whispered to her, "we are observers only. Our role is to facilitate, not to interfere." Sarah nodded, but her hand instinctively checked the datapad strapped to her wrist. She had spent weeks studying the history of this conflict, and something about it did not feel right. The Vorten delegation entered first. They were tall beings, 7 feet at least, with pale blue skin and forearms. Their leader, High Commander Vrax, moved with military precision. His face was expressionless, but his eyes scanned the room constantly, evaluating threats. The Kellian representatives arrived next. They looked almost human, except for the delicate scales that covered their skin and the way their eyes shifted colors with their emotions. Ambassador Lyria led them, her scales displaying nervous patterns of green and silver. Finally, the Zephyr delegation materialized on their platform. They were beings of pure energy given form through advanced technology, appearing as humanoid figures made of light and shadow. Their speaker, known only as Resonance, flickered slightly as it settled into position. Ancient Wounds Marcus stood in the center circle and began. "We gather here because war serves no one. The Meridian sector has been disputed for 3 generations. It is time to find a solution that honors all parties." High Commander Vrax spoke first, his voice deep and harsh. "The Meridian sector belonged to our ancestors. We have star charts dating back 5,000 years proving our claim. The Kellians and Zephyr arrived as invaders." Ambassador Lyria's scales flushed red with anger. "Your charts are forgeries. The Kellian Collective has maintained settlements in Meridian for 7,000 years. Our genetic records prove our people evolved on those worlds." Resonance's voice echoed like music and thunder combined. "Both claims are irrelevant. The Zephyr Alliance discovered the Meridian sector in its current form. What existed before our arrival was destroyed by natural catastrophe. We rebuilt those worlds. They are ours by right of creation." Sarah listened carefully, taking notes on her datapad. She had heard all these arguments before in the preliminary meetings. Each faction had evidence supporting their claim. Each faction believed absolutely in their righteousness. But something nagged at her mind, a pattern she could not quite identify. The first crack The debate continued for hours. Proposals were made and rejected. Compromises were suggested and dismissed. The temperature in the room seemed to rise with each passing moment. Though the station's environmental systems maintained perfect conditions, then it happened. A holographic display suddenly activated without anyone touching the controls. It showed classified military communications from the Kellian Collective, plans for a surprise attack on Vorten border stations. The room erupted in chaos. Vrax stood, all four of his arms reaching for weapons that were not there. Station Harmony had strict security protocols. Treachery. He roared. You speak of peace while planning war. Lyria's scales turned white with shock. Those communications are fabricated. We planned no such attack. Before anyone could respond, another display activated. This time it showed Vorten military orders, plans to poison the atmosphere of a Kellian colony world. Then a third display appeared, revealing Zephyr designs for a weapon that could destabilize stars. The three delegations began shouting accusations. Security forces rushed into the room. Alarms blared throughout the station. Sarah watched it all unfold and felt her combat instincts take over. Her mind cleared, focusing on details. Others missed in the chaos. Something wrong, while everyone else argued and threatened. Sarah studied the holographic displays. She zoomed in on the Kellian communication, examining the metadata. Her eyes narrowed. The timestamp was wrong. The encryption signature did not match Kellian protocols. She checked the Vorten orders next. Same problem. Different issues, but clear signs of manipulation. Stop! She shouted, but her voice was lost in the noise. Marcus grabbed her arm. Sarah, we need to evacuate. This summit is over. No, she said firmly. Something is wrong. These documents are fake. Fake or not, it does not matter now. Look at them. Sarah looked. The three delegations were beyond reason. Vrax had opened a communication channel to his fleet. Lyria was doing the same. Resonance flickered violently, its form barely holding coherence as it transmitted orders to Zephyr vessels. On the observation screens, the three fleets began moving into attack formations. Weapon systems powered up. Shields strengthened. In minutes, maybe less, the first shots would be fired. Once that happened, nothing could stop the cascade of violence that would follow. The race against time. Sarah pulled away from Marcus and ran to the central control console. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, bypassing security protocols she had memorized during her preparation for this summit. Technically, what she was doing was illegal. She did not care. Commander Chun, what are you doing? Marcus called after her. Buying us time, she answered without looking up. She accessed the station's communication logs, searching for the source of the false intelligence. The holographic displays had been activated remotely, but from where? She traced the signal back through multiple relay points, each one designed to hide the true origin. Behind her, the delegations were leaving. Vrax marched toward the exit with his guards. Lyria was already gone. Resonance began to fade, preparing to teleport back to its ship. Sarah's datapad beeped. She had found something. The signal originated from within Station Harmony itself, but from a section that should have been empty. Maintenance Level 7, a restricted area under repair. She looked up at the observation screens. The fleets were 30 seconds from firing range. Vorten destroyers had locked weapons on Kellian carriers. Kellian bioships were releasing attack drones. Zephyr vessels were charging their reality-warping cannons. 20 seconds. Sarah made a decision. She activated the station's emergency broadcast system, overriding every other communication. Her face appeared on every screen in the station, and on the bridge of every ship in all three fleets. Asterisk, my name is Commander Sarah Chun of Earth, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I am not asking you to trust me. I am not asking you to stand down. I am only asking you to wait 60 seconds before you start a war. 60 seconds to see proof that you have been manipulated. Vrax's face appeared in a split screen. Humans have no authority here. This is not your concern. You are right, Sarah agreed. This is not my war. But I am a soldier, and I recognize a tactical deception when I see one. Someone wants you to fight. Someone has been feeding you false intelligence. Give me 60 seconds to prove it. Lyria's image joined the screen. Why should we believe you? Because I have nothing to gain from lying, Sarah answered. Earth has no claim to the Meridian sector. We have no stake in who controls it. We only want to prevent unnecessary death. Resonance's form appeared, still flickering with agitation. Your species is young and naive. You do not understand the depth of this conflict. Maybe, Sarah said, but I understand when someone is being played for a fool. And right now, all three of you are being played. 10 seconds. High Commander Vrax raised one of his hands, and on the observation screen, Sarah saw the Vorton fleet hold position. They did not power down weapons, but they did not fire. Lyria hesitated and gave orders to her fleet. The Kellian ships stopped advancing. Resonance flickered once more, then stabilized. The Zephyr vessels held their positions. Sarah exhaled slowly. She had her 60 seconds. Now she had to make them count. The hidden enemy Sarah culled up the data she had traced and displayed it for everyone to see. These communications that supposedly prove your treachery, they all came from the same source. Someone inside this station has been manufacturing evidence, timing its release for maximum impact. She showed them the metadata, the inconsistencies in encryption, the impossible timestamps. Whoever did this knows all three of your security protocols. They have access to classified information from all your governments. They have been planning this for months, maybe years. Vrax studied the data with military efficiency. This proves the documents were altered, but not who altered them or why. I am working on that, Sarah said, her fingers moving rapidly across the console. The signal came from Maintenance Level 7. I am accessing security footage now. The screens changed, showing a dark corridor lined with equipment and exposed cables. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then movement caught the camera's attention. Figures in dark suits, their faces hidden by masks, working at a hidden communications array. But it was what they wore that made Sarah's blood run cold. The insignia on their suits was not Vorton, Kellian, or Zephyr. It was something else entirely, a symbol she had seen only once before in classified intelligence briefings. The Shadow Syndicate, she whispered. Marcus stepped beside her, his face pale. Are you certain? Sarah nodded. The Shadow Syndicate was a criminal organization that operated in the lawless regions between civilized space. They dealt in weapons, slaves, and chaos. They had been growing bolder in recent years, but no one had suspected they could infiltrate. Something like this Peace Summit dot, she broadcast the footage to all three fleets. This is who wants you to fight. Not each other, but them. The Shadow Syndicate profits from war. They sell weapons to all sides. They thrive in chaos. Your conflict over the Meridian sector has been their opportunity. The observation screens showed confusion spreading through the three fleets. Commanders were checking their own intelligence, verifying Sarah's claims. The pieces were falling into place. But Sarah knew this was not over. She had exposed the manipulation, but that did not erase 3 generations of genuine grievance. The territorial dispute was real. The historical wounds were real. She had stopped the immediate trigger, but the underlying powder keg remained, and she had a feeling the Shadow Syndicate had one more card to play. On the security feed, the masked figures suddenly looked up at the camera. One of them raised a device and pressed a button. Throughout Station Harmony, explosions began to bloom. Asterisk, the truth unveiled chaos. Unleashed. The explosions tore through Station Harmony like a chain of fire. Sarah was thrown against the console as the floor buckled beneath her feet. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Alarms screamed from every direction. The observation screens cracked but held, showing debris spreading through sections of the station like shrapnel through flesh. Marcus grabbed her arm, pulling her upright. "We need to get to the evacuation pods." Sarah shook her head, clearing the ringing from her ears. "No, that is exactly what they want. If we evacuate, the delegations evacuate. The fleets will assume the worst and open fire. We have to stop this here." Through the damaged screens, she could see the three fleets reacting to the explosions. Weapon systems that had been merely active were now fully charged. The Vorton ships moved into aggressive formations. Kellian biodrones swarmed between vessels like angry insects. The Zephyr fleet began to shimmer as they prepared to phase through normal space. The situation had gone from dangerous to catastrophic in seconds. High Commander. Vrax's voice boomed through the emergency channel. "Station Harmony is under attack. This is clearly a coordinated strike by the Kellian Collective using human pawns as cover." "Lies!" Lyria's voice shot back, her scales surely blazing with rage, even though Sarah could not see her. The Vortons orchestrated this entire summit as a trap. They manipulated the humans to gain our trust. Resonance's musical voice carried a discordant edge now. "Both of you are blind. The humans have played us all. Their species seeks to weaken us through internal conflict so they can expand into our territories." Sarah felt her frustration boiling over. Three intelligent species, all with advanced civilizations, all falling for the oldest trick in warfare: divide and conquer. She slammed her fist on the console, ignoring the pain that shot through her hand. "Listen to yourselves," she shouted into the broadcast system. "This is exactly what the Syndicate wants. You saw the proof. You saw who planted those explosives. And now you are going to give them exactly what they have been working toward." No one responded. The fleets continued their attack preparations. Sarah made a decision that would either save millions of lives or end her career and possibly her life. She accessed the station's defense grid, something only the station commander should be able to do, and activated the emergency barrier system. Massive energy shields erupted around Station Harmony, creating a sphere of protective force that separated the station from the surrounding space. But Sarah did not stop there. She extended the shields outward, creating smaller barriers between each of the three fleets, physically preventing them from firing on each other. The response was immediate and furious. "Human!" Vrax roared. "You have just committed an act of war against the Vorton Empire." "Commander Chun," Resonance's voice was cold as deep space, "you have overstepped your authority by magnitudes. Release these barriers immediately, or face annihilation." Lyria's voice was quieter, but no less deadly. "Sarah Chun, I believed in you. I trusted you. And now you trap us like animals. Why?" The desperate Gambit Sarah stood alone in the damaged conference hall, surrounded by warning lights and the groans of stressed metal. Marcus had moved to help evacuate civilians from the damaged sections, trusting her to handle the military crisis. She had maybe 5 minutes before one of the fleets found a way to overload her barriers. Maybe less. She needed evidence. Real, undeniable proof of the Syndicate's full plan. The footage of the masked figures was not enough. She needed to show the delegations why the Syndicate wanted this war so badly that they were willing to risk everything to cause it. Her fingers danced across the console, diving deeper into the station systems. The Shadow Syndicate operatives had been here for weeks, maybe months. They would have left traces. Communications, supply records, anything that could reveal their true objective. She found it in the cargo manifests. 6 months ago, A shipment had arrived at Station Harmony, labeled as standard maintenance supplies. But the weight was wrong. The radiation signature was wrong. Sarah pulled up the detailed scans and felt her breath catch. Weapons. Not just any weapons, but quantum destabilizers. Devices capable of triggering chain reactions in a star's core. 3 of them, each one positioned perfectly to target the primary stars of the Vorten, Kellyan, and Zephyr home systems. The Syndicate was not just trying to start a war. They were planning genocide. They wanted the 3 great powers to destroy each other while their home systems burned. The resulting power vacuum would leave entire sectors of space open for the Syndicate to claim that it was brilliant in its cruelty. It was also the proof Sarah needed. She broadcasted the cargo manifests to all 3 fleets, along with the technical specifications of the weapons and their current locations hidden throughout the station. "This is what they planned," she said, her voice steady despite the horror of what she was revealing. Not just war. Complete annihilation. The Meridian Sector dispute was never the real goal. You were. For a long moment, there was only silence. Sarah watched the screens, seeing the fleets hold their positions. She could imagine the commanders examining her evidence, their tactical officers running calculations, their intelligence chiefs cross-referencing databases. Then Vrack spoke. His voice different now, quieter. "The quantum destabilizer targeting our home system. Where is it located?" Sarah checked the data. Section 12, Deck 43, hidden inside what is supposed to be a water recycling unit. "Confirmed," came a response from a Vorten technical officer. "We are reading massive energy signatures consistent with Commander Chan's data." Lyria's voice followed. "The device threatening the Kellyan home worlds." "Where?" Section 19, Deck 17. "Disguised as medical equipment." A pause. Then, "Confirmed. We detect it." Resonance's form appeared on the screen again, no longer flickering. Its voice carried a weight that Sarah had not heard before. "The weapon aimed at our space. We will verify. But Commander Chun, if what you say is true, then we owe you and your species a debt that cannot be measured." "I do not want a debt," Sarah said. "I want you to work together to disarm these weapons and capture the Syndicate operatives before they can detonate them remotely. You have minutes, maybe less. Unity forged in fire, what happened next would be studied in military academies for generations." 3 fleets that had been seconds from mutual destruction instead turned their considerable resources toward a common enemy. Vorten Marines, Kellyan infiltration specialists, and Zephyr reality shapers teleported aboard. Station Harmony in coordinated strike teams. Sarah coordinated from the central console, directing teams through the damaged station to the weapon locations. Marcus returned, bringing with him the 3 delegation leaders. They stood together in the conference hall, watching the operation unfold on the repaired screens. "Section 12 secure," reported a Vorten commander. "Weapon disarmed. We captured 3 Syndicate operatives." "Section 19 neutralized," came the Kellyan report. 5 hostiles in custody. 1 attempted to activate the destabilizer, but we stopped him in time. The Zephyr response came last. Our target is more complex. The device is partially phased into another dimension. We require assistance. Sarah did not hesitate. "All teams, converge on Section 21. Combine your capabilities. Vorten strength, Kellyan precision, Zephyr technology. Show these criminals what cooperation looks like." On the screen, she watched as soldiers from 3 species who had been enemies minutes ago now worked as a single unit. Vorten warriors provided cover fire. Kellyan agents used their natural camouflage to flank Syndicate positions. Zephyr beings phased through walls to disable security systems. The final weapon was disabled with 30 seconds to spare. throughout it all. Sarah noticed something she had not seen in any of the historical records she had studied. The three species were not just cooperating out of necessity. They were doing it well. Their tactics complemented each other. Their technologies meshed in ways that created capabilities greater than any single faction possessed. She filed that observation away for later. The prisoner speaks. Captured syndicate operatives were brought to a secure holding area. 63 in total, a massive infiltration operation that must have taken years to plan. Their leader was a creature Sarah did not recognize, a species from the outer reaches known for their ability to change appearance. Currently, it wore a form that looked almost human, except for the metallic sheen of its skin. High Commander Vrax stood before the prisoner, all four arms crossed. Ambassador Lyria flanked him on one side, her scales showing patterns Sarah had learned meant determination. Resonance hovered on the other side, its form bright and focused. Sarah and Marcus stood slightly behind them, observers once more. "Speak," Vrax commanded. "Why did you do this?" The prisoner smiled, showing too many teeth. "Because you are predictable. All of you. You cling to your ancient grudges, your territorial disputes, your pride. You are so easy to manipulate. But why?" Lyria asked. "What could you possibly gain that would be worth this level of risk?" "Everything," the prisoner answered. "With your home systems destroyed and your fleets scattered, the entire Meridian sector and beyond would have been ours. The Shadow Syndicate would have emerged as the dominant power in this region of space. We would have built an empire on the ashes of yours." Resonance's voice carried a note of something Sarah thought might be sadness. "You would have killed billions for territory? For power?" "We would have killed billions because we could," the prisoner said. "Because in the chaos of your mutual destruction, no one would have even known we were responsible. You would have blamed each other to the very end." Sarah stepped forward, drawing everyone's attention. "But you failed. Because at the critical moment, three species chose to trust each other instead of giving in to fear. Because military officers from three different cultures worked together flawlessly. Because when it really mattered, cooperation proved stronger than conflict." The prisoner's smile faded. "A temporary alliance of convenience. Nothing more. Give them time. They will return to their old hatreds." "Perhaps," Sarah agreed. "Or perhaps we just showed them a better path." The new dawn the summit reconvened 3 days later. Station Harmony had been repaired, the dead had been honored, and the wounded had been treated. The three delegations returned to their platforms, but the atmosphere was completely different now. High Commander Vrax spoke first. "The Vorten Empire acknowledges that our historical claims to the Meridian sector, while legitimate in our view, are not worth the lives of billions. We propose a joint administration of the disputed territories." Ambassador Lyria's scales showed patterns Sarah had learned meant hope. "The Kellian Collective agrees. Furthermore, we propose a mutual defense treaty. The Shadow Syndicate may be crippled, but they are not destroyed. Working together, we can ensure they never threaten our peoples again." Resonance's form pulsed with light. "The Yes-Fair Alliance supports these proposals. Moreover, we wish to extend an invitation to humanity. Commander Chun and Ambassador Webb have proven that your species possesses wisdom beyond your years. We would welcome Earth as a partner in this new alliance." Marcus looked at Sarah, surprise clear on his face. This was unprecedented. Humanity had been barely tolerated in galactic affairs, seen as newcomers who had not yet earned their place. Now they were being offered partnership with three of the sector's great powers. Sarah stepped forward. "Humanity is honored by your offer. But I want to be clear about something. We did not expose the Syndicate's plot because we wanted reward or recognition. We did it because it was right. That is what humanity brings to any alliance. A commitment to doing what is right, even when it is difficult or dangerous. Vrax made a gesture Sarah had learned was the Vorten equivalent of a respectful nod. That is precisely why we want you as partners. Commander Chun, you see clearly where others are blinded by history and prejudice. You acted when others would have hesitated. These are qualities any alliance needs. Lyria added, and you trusted us. Even when you had every reason not to. Even when we gave you none of the respect you deserved. You believed we could be better than our worst impulses. That kind of faith is rare and precious. The treaty was signed that evening. The Meridian Accords, they called it, named after the sector that had nearly destroyed them all. The disputed territories would be jointly administered, with representatives from all 4 species working together. A combined defense force would patrol the region, protecting against future threats from the Syndicate or any other hostile force. But more than that, the treaty established something unprecedented, a council where disputes could be resolved through discussion rather than war, where different species could bring their grievances and know they would be heard fairly, where cooperation was not just an ideal, but a practical reality. Epilogue 6 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Station Harmony once more, watching ships come and go. But now the vessels moved freely between the 3 fleets, exchanging personnel and technology. Vorten engineers worked alongside Kellian biologists and Zephyr physicists, developing innovations none of them could have achieved alone. Marcus joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Real Earth coffee, imported specially for the human contingent now permanently stationed on the station. Thinking about what could have been. He asked. Sarah accepted the coffee gratefully. Thinking about what almost was. We came so close to catastrophe. If I had been a few seconds slower, if the delegations had not given me that 1 minute to prove my claims, billions would have died. But they did give you that minute, Marcus said gently. And you used it to save them all. That is what matters. I got lucky, Sarah insisted. I happened to notice the irregularities in the data. I happened to find the evidence in time. Luck should not be what prevents galactic wars. Marcus smiled. It was not luck, Sarah. It was preparation meeting opportunity. You studied those files for weeks. You trained your whole life to notice the details others miss. And when the moment came, you were ready. He paused, looking out at the peaceful fleet movements. Besides, I think we proved something important that day. What is that? That peace is always possible, even when it seems impossible, even when generations of conflict say otherwise. It just requires people brave enough to reach across the divide and stubborn enough to refuse to give up. He raised his coffee cup in a small toast. People like you. Sarah touched her cup to his, but her mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about the prisoner's final words, about how temporary alliances could become permanent partnerships if people worked at it. She was thinking about the future, about humanity's place in this new galactic community. Most of all, she was thinking about the lesson she had learned on that desperate day when war seemed inevitable. The lesson that would shape her career and eventually influence galactic policy for decades to come. Sometimes the greatest act of courage was not fighting. Sometimes it was refusing to fight. Sometimes it was standing in the gap between enemies and saying, "Wait, look, think. There is another way." Down below, a joint patrol departed Station Harmony. Vorten, Kellian, Zephyr, and human ships flying in formation, protecting the peace they had almost lost. Sarah watched them go and allowed herself a small smile. Asterisk. The galaxy had been seconds from war. One human had stopped it, but more importantly, thousands of humans, Vortens, Kellians, and Zephyr, had chosen peace afterward. They had done the hard work of turning a crisis into an opportunity. They had built something lasting from the ruins of what could have been. That was the real victory. Not stopping one war, but starting one peace. And it was just the beginning. Behind her, the conference hall was filling up again. Another summit, another dispute to resolve. The Meridian Accords were working, but they required constant attention, constant effort, constant willingness to choose cooperation over conflict. Sarah finished her coffee and handed the empty cup back to Marcus. "Time to get back to work," she said. "Always," Marcus agreed. "But Sarah, thank you for everything you did, for everything you continue to do." She nodded once, then walked back toward the conference hall. Outside the windows, the stars shone eternal and indifferent. But inside Station Harmony, people from 4 different worlds worked together to build something those stars would remember. A galaxy where war was the last resort, not the first response. A galaxy where one human had made all the difference. And a galaxy where that difference would echo through the ages. A reminder that courage, clarity, and compassion could overcome even the deepest divisions. The summit began. Sarah took her place, and the work of peace continued. Asterisk,